Welcome to this painting class. This is the first of a 3-week painting class. This is an all medium class. So some of you are doing watercolors and some of you are doing acrylics, and maybe there is some who are even doing some other medium. But the purpose of this class is to just have fun, take a moment, step away from all of this news that we hear on TV all the time. Relax, enjoy, and don't be so hard on yourself. It is a fun moment meant to be enjoyed. So today we will focus on using 2 colors, and they are, you can see here on this painting that I did, this is what we're going to be working on today. And to do this, I only used 2 main colors, which are orange and blue. And I also used a little bit of white in certain areas. But basically, orange and blue are the colors that we're going to use. So this was the example in acrylic. So I also have an example that I did in watercolor. Those who are taking the drawing class have seen, yesterday we did the drawing of the mug, but I want to show you, take a moment to show you the color wheel. So if you look at the color wheel, you have the blue down here and the yellow and the red, which are the 4 primary colors. So the primary colors are in those little squares, and the secondary colors are the colors that are opposite from the primary. So the green would be a secondary color. It's in a circle. The orange would be a secondary color, and also the purple. And those who are in little drops kind of shape, so it's a little circle with an angle, those are the tertiary colors. And they are a mix of the primary and the secondary. So this one here, which is indigo, is a tertiary color that is a mix of the blue and the purple. So today we're going to use the blue, and it's complementary. So the primary color is blue and the complementary color is orange. And to do the orange, we're going to use our red and yellow. So for this class, we will be doing a mug. And so therefore, I'm going to give you a few minutes now to go to your kitchen and get yourself a mug, something like this, something simple, straight line if you can, full color if you have one, and so something simple that you can do. So 2 minutes to go and get that. In order to do the painting, so we can do a different approach. So the first approach that comes to mind is first do a drawing, then trace it and put it on the paper or the canvas, and then after that, paint it. We can also be more adventurous and paint it directly. And I want to show you a video that I did. It's a fast video. It's only 30 seconds, but it's actually an hour and a half of painting. But I filmed when I painted this in acrylics. So you'll see, unfortunately, there's a little bit of a glare, but you can. It will give you an idea of how you can start without having to draw first. So I'm going to share my screen. And so if you can see, can you do the thumb up? Can you see the little, yes? Okay. So in this video, it starts a little earlier. As you can see here, this is my start. And when I started, I did the circle and I did the lines, the sides, and the whole time I had to redraw and redraw, and eventually I was ready to go. So I'm going to let it run just to show you how it can go. So first, what I did is I did the whole mug in one color, and then after that, I added my background. So I didn't do too much detail on the mug before I added the background, because the background, when it's white, it responds differently than when it's blue to the orange. So it's important to build the whole painting all at once. Then I'm adding the surface in the, so I added the bottom part here. Unfortunately, because of the glare, we don't see the whole thing. After I'm done that, then I start adding the shadow area. So the light comes from the right. That's why there's a shadow area here at the top. And this section here is in the light. And then the portion here at the bottom on the left of the mug. To do this color, I mixed the orange and the blue. Now I added the shadow area on the wall behind the mug. Turn it upside down to do this. And I added, I added also the shadow here at the top. And then there are some different designs that are created with, you know, what's happening on the light that is on the mug. So I'm adding that. And now I'm just doing final touch-up. So, whoops, started. So at the end, it gives us this. This is the end. So this video will be available for you to review if you want to. But I also have something else that I would like to show you guys, which is I've prepared the steps for the watercolor version of this. So I'm trying to make sure this is good. So the mug is here. This is the mug that I showed you, and I had done a drawing of it. Now you can't really see very well. Let me do a close-up of this. Oops. So this drawing here, I don't know if you can see it very well, but this is the drawing that I put on my watercolor paper before I started doing the watercolor. So I just put the contour of the mug with the handle, and then the line for where the wall meets the surface or the table. And then I can just put it like this. Then after that, I start. So this is how I started. At first, I started by wetting the whole background behind the mug, and I put a very light wash of blue with a little bit of orange here and there. Then after that, I added the surface, which is a little darker than the background, so it's more of a blue color. Then to start doing the mug itself, I wet the whole section here, and I put a whole solid color of orange. And while it's still wet, I went here and I used a paper towel to remove some of the orange on the lid color. So the lid side, so the side that is light, that the light comes from, which is the right, what I did is while the orange was still wet, I used a paper towel and I removed some of it. So now I added the light by lifting the color. Then after this is done, while it's still wet, I added some mix of blue and orange here on the side that is the dark side of my mug, which is the left side. So once this is all done, I let it completely dry while I start the top here. And I will do the same process here. So I started with the orange, then I will lift the area that is in the light, and I will add some mix of orange and blue where it's the dark. So we can see it on the second. So here I lifted this area which is in the light, and then I added some mix of orange and blue where I have the shadow. And then after that, I did the same thing with the handle. So I did the whole orange, and then I lifted where it's in the light, and I added some mix of orange and blue where it's dark. Once this is all done, I added my shadow here on the table first. Then I also added it on the wall behind the mug. So that's the one in acrylic. So you can see the phases there are many phases. I mean, you can make it into less phases. I will share this with you after the class, but I wanted to give you a chance now to ask your questions. So I'm going to pause the recording. I'm going to stop the share and pause the recording. So the colors that I have suggested that you bring to class are the following. So the white it's titanium white, and for the titanium white, I have it in the Liquitex Basics brand. This is a student brand. It's very good for this class. This is waste efficient. Now this is a very big format. They have a much smaller format, about this big. You don't need this much. You can buy the smaller format. So titanium white. So this is for the acrylic colors. Primary yellow. And this tube is the Blick brand. So at dickblick.com you can buy those. You can see it's the studio acrylic, so it's a student brand. But the primary yellow is the yellow to have for the acrylic class. Now, I will mention what the colors are for watercolor. So the red is alizarin crimson, and the blue is ultramarine blue. So these are the colors to use to do this. In watercolor, you only need 3 colors. And the colors are, the first one is cadmium yellow medium. So it's a bit of a different yellow. And this brand, the Da Vinci brand watercolor in a tube, is a professional brand. You can use this one, but it's quite expensive. The red is the same red, the alizarin crimson. And this tube is actually a Danielle Smith extra fine watercolor. This is also a professional brand, so it's very expensive. You don't necessarily need professional brand. And the blue is, oh wow, you can't really see it anymore because I'm so it's the ultramarine blue. Can't really see it. Anyway, it's the Van Gogh brand. This is a student brand, student grade, and it's very good for this class. So this is something that I would recommend. You can also buy a little box like this. This is Winsor & Newton, and this box has all these different colors in it. You don't need all these colors for class, so that's why I don't necessarily ask you to buy a box, but it does have the yellow cadmium medium, the alizarin crimson, and also the ultramarine blue. So these are three of the colors that we use. And what I do when I use this, I mostly use this when I go paint outside in plein air. I find it very convenient, just a little box like this to bring. Okay. So I'm going to do the demonstration now. And before I start the demonstration, I'm going to set up my palette.